Hello and welcome to my channel. Now, today I'm going to talk about the housing deficit in Nigeria, specifically how the Nigerian government can be doing a lot more to address social housing and to make housing more affordable and accessible for the Nigerian people. Housing is a human right, and every Nigerian deserves to have good homes over their head. Now, I'm going to talk about how I view housing and what the fundamental issue is with the Nigerian housing sector. A couple of things. The main one being the lack of funding. Now, across the different states, they have their own bodies, they have their own commissions that are meant to handle social housing. If you look at a place like Ogun State, you have Opic, which basically stands for Ogun State Property Investment. If you look at Lagos, we have the LSDPC, which stands for Lagos and Development Property Corporation. It's the responsibilities of these organizations to build homes for people. But usually in Nigeria, these homes end up being something for civil servants. They end up being kept until, the government of the day leaves the office and then they sell it to their cronies. So these homes, they use public funds to build, but they never actually get to the people that need them. That's a big problem in these so called affordable housing schemes that the government do. Another issue is that a lot of these homes are just plain out ugly. They're ugly, they don't look inviting, they use the cheapest of cheapest materials to build, and they're not even fit for purpose. Nigerian's population is largely young. I don't see why they're focused on building 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom bungalows when most of the demographic in Nigeria cannot afford those 3 bedrooms. It would make more sense for the Nigerian government to move into flats, building flats, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom flats for starter homes. As a starter home, for example, you're a youth, you're NYC, you just started your life. A 1 bedroom is more attainable, then which you can then upscale into a 2 bedroom. 2 bedroom homes, a newly married couple with a child can easily fit into a 2 bedroom. But when you have 3 bedroom and up, you're basically saying you're providing homes for families, 2 income households. That is also the issue with Nigerian homes and the way the Nigerian government presents homes. A lot of the schemes that they have are geared towards income earners. They're geared towards people who have an income, forgetting that Nigeria is a largely low wage country. It's a country where most people are self employed. It's a country where there's no proper unionizing. So there's no protection against workers from losing their job. So on top of you being paid low, there's no job security. And a lot of the people that are employed are civil servants with steady income. It's difficult for you to then say people who are in such a precarious situation should come and then apply for housing under rent to own mortgages, or they pay a fee towards home ownership, like a percentage of the home price, and then subsequently they pay the rest. It's very, very hard. The Nigerian government needs to change the way they approach housing schemes, in that they cannot be reliant on income based solutions. They can't do that. Rather, they should look at rent based solutions, building flats and building homes to rent to the people, long term rental income. That's what they need to do. They need to be providing the services, the infrastructure, so that when they build these homes, they can make them available to the Nigerian public. They can get private sector to come in and build apartments for the people and have a scheme where they share the dividends. So if the government has the land, they do the infrastructure, the private sector come in and do the property, then they can decide on how they share the income generated from the rent, from taxes and other services, service charge that is being passed on. The government cannot do everything. They need the private sector to step in. But the government needs to be serious about tackling housing. So that's this example I just gave you is one of the many ways that the government needs to change in their approach when it comes to housing. They also need to look away from centralized way of doing homes. It's not about building in Abuja and building in the state capitals. They need to be building in local governments. They need to build smaller scale. So if you're looking at flats, even if you're looking at one bedroom, they need to look at how they can scale down instead of trying to build a massive estate development. Can they just go into a community that already has infrastructure and build on 1 acre of land or 2 acres of land? Work with the local government and the state government to build units in smaller concentrations. That way, the money is better utilized instead of trying to build new communities, new areas, and it takes 10 to 15 years to do these projects. There are a lot of people in the housing sector, there are a lot of people who have innovative solutions. The government doesn't have to do everything. The government can subsidize building materials for the people. They can work with developers, they can work with other countries who also have, affordable housing solutions to the people and make this available because there's so many benefits to providing housing. Aside even just on a on development, improving the development of a community, there's also the government's incentive to tax. They can make money from these services. They can make money from this from even rent because wherever people move to, businesses and things will come to that area. So they can expand their reach. All they need to do is just do the basics. So, it's sad that we have a housing deficit, but I don't see that changing unless the government approach to housing changes. Housing is a human right, and every one of us deserves to have a house,